All of us condemn the truly barbaric attack by Hamas terrorists on the 7th of October. And under international law, we respect countries' right to defend their citizens from terrorist attacks.
I'm well aware of the definition of genocide, and that is why I've never described this and referred to it as genocide.
Those terms were largely used when millions of people lost their lives in crises like Rwanda, the Second World War and the Holocaust. And the way that they are used now undermines the seriousness of that term.
Hello everybody, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance. So let's return to today's topic. The disgraceful Israeli woman currently serving as her settler colonies ambassador to the UK, Tzipi Hotovely, today posted a photo of her visit to the British Parliament with the current British Home Secretary Yvette Cooper and Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp. Now, why is this photo important? This photo is important because in this photo you can see Yvette Cooper smiling, and it's a genuine smile, a genuine sign of joy of sharing space with a genocidal maniac. Yes, that's what this disgraceful woman Hotovely has been. You only have to watch her horrible utterances calling for the genocide and the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians to understand just what kind of a horrible human being this Israeli woman is. There has been a campaign as well to call for her expulsion from the UK. But Yvette Cooper looks overjoyed in this photo for sharing the stage with her. Watch the compilation of Hotovely's utterances in the past.
If everyone will take a safer shelter in the south area of Gaza, we will minimize casualties.
There have been targets in the south, though, haven't they?
No, we have no interest in hurting innocent people. Our only target is Hamas facilities. Excuse me?
You are bombing them.
Oh, really? We are trying to do our best to minimize casualties.
11,000 dead.
Some of them are terrorists, as you know.
Not all of them.
We're not targeting civilians. We're just targeting.
What percentage do you think are terrorists?
I believe over 50%.
There are 5 times as many dead Palestinians as there are dead Israelis.
95% of them terrorists. Israel is doing things that not even one
killing them.
The army. We're not killing them. It's Hamas that's killing them.
We have been showing images this morning that illustrate that there is a humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
So blame Hamas.
Right now,
it's Hamas.
Israel is not allowing journalists to go into Gaza without
Hamas
Israeli military censorship.
It's Hamas that is not giving people in.
But you're going to starve civilians. That's the impact.
That's your mistake. It's Hamas that is to be blamed.
Victims are also the 10,000 Palestinians dead.
They are victims of their own leadership. Why should they be refugees after 70 years of having independent life? Everyone were exposed in social media about what exactly they did, how they killed and executed children in front of their parents in front of their children, raped innocent women. The people of Gaza were celebrating that. Every school, every mosque, every second house has an access to tunnel. So this is, and of course ammunition.
But that's an argument for destroying the whole of Gaza, every single building in it.
So do you have another solution?
The two-state solution is dead.
Why are you obsessed with a formula that never worked? That
you are expelling people from their homes.
You get at the moment.
There is a phrase for that.
Over 100,000 Israelis don't live in their homes at the moment. Do you know that? This is huge missile. And think about it, falling in the middle of a city like Jerusalem. We're now in beautiful scenery of Jerusalem, but look how populated it is. Just think about it, hitting neighborhoods and people and children. It would have been a disaster. I don't want to live next to an enemy that doesn't see me as a human being.
Do you accept there is also anti-Palestinian racism, anti-Arab racism?
No.
If the UK had any respect for international laws, which they say they have, this Israeli woman should have been kicked out from the country long time ago. I mean, how do you allow a maniac to use your soil to make utterances in support of genocide and ethnic cleansing? Only last year, November the 15th, 2023 to be precise, Yvette Cooper had made a passionate speech in support of Israeli hostages in her capacity as the Shadow Home Secretary. Her speech as the shadow Home Secretary was interrupted by protesters calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. In her speech, she had called for the application of and respect for international laws. In her words, this is what distinguished terrorist, her word, not mine, from democracy.
We've seen hundreds of hostages still being held following the gravest attack on Jewish people on any day since the Holocaust, with Israeli families still experiencing the horror and the trauma as remains of their loved ones are still being identified, and families and communities still reeling from the events. All of us condemn the truly barbaric attack by Hamas terrorists on the 7th of October. And under international law, we respect countries' right to defend their citizens from terrorist attacks, and also countries' obligations to abide by international law. The conduct of war matters. As Antony Blinken has said at the very start of this conflict, how Israel does this matters. We democracies distinguish ourselves from terrorists.
And yet, her government has refused to expel this Israeli woman for her genocidal utterances. Let's not forget that the International Court of Justice has already declared the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territories illegal. The International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants against bloodthirsty Israeli terrorist Benjamin Netanyahu and his former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch both have accused Israel of committing a genocide in Gaza. But these developments are still not good enough for UK Prime Minister and Cooper's boss, Keir Starmer, to term Israeli action as genocide.
Mr. Speaker, Article 2 of the United Nations Genocide Convention makes it explicitly clear that genocide is not about numbers, it's about intent. And the intent of the Israeli government and the IDF has been explicitly clear in words and in actions over the past 400 days. More than 45,000 innocent men, women and children killed. On the 28th of October, the Foreign Secretary denied that a genocide was even taking place and suggested that the Israeli army had not yet killed enough Palestinians to constitute a genocide. And last week, the PMQs, the Prime Minister started that he has never referred to the atrocities happening in Gaza as a genocide. Will the Prime Minister share his definition of genocide with this House, and will he state what further action he is prepared to take to save lives of desperate and starving men, women and children, given that we now hold the presidency of the United Nations Security Council?
It would be wise to start a question like that by reference to what happened in October of last year. I'm well aware of the definition of genocide, and that is why I've never described this and referred to it as genocide.
Starmer's minion, David Lammy, he thinks accusing Israel of genocide, even after the massacre of hundreds of thousands of Palestinian men, women, children and babies, will be tantamount to belittling the term genocide.
So will the Foreign Secretary take this opportunity to say that there is not a genocide occurring in the Middle East?
Foreign Secretary.
These are quite properly legal terms that must be determined by international courts. But I do agree with the Honourable Gentleman. Those terms were largely used when millions of people lost their lives in crises like Rwanda, the Second World War and the Holocaust. And the way that they are used now undermines the seriousness of that term.
So I'm not surprised why Yvette Cooper too has decided to respect international institutions by inviting a genocidal maniac to the parliament, a temple of democracy. In case you don't know, her husband Ed Balls works as a presenter of an ITV show, Good Morning Britain. Anybody who has watched his program and how he interviewed pro-Palestinian MP Zara Sultana in the past would know Cooper and Balls are made for each other when it comes to siding with Israel's genocidal campaign. That's it from me. Thank you very much for your support of this platform and our journalism on buymeacoffee.com and Patreon. If you too think that our journalism is worth supporting, then you too should consider being part of it. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.